Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the CMPP February webinar here hosted by US PAC Midwest. It's titled Three Things Every Business Owner Should Know About. And then today I have invited my friend and small business owner that I affectionately known as Z. So our CMPP webinar is powered by the SBA to strengthen outreach to underserved and unserved businesses, as well as small businesses, to connect them to the free services provided by the SBA and the nationwide network of resource partners. Inviting Z today, the goal is to share a little bit and specifically three things that entrepreneurs should know about when it comes to starting up their business. And I hope that this helps some of our business owners out there.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here and chat with you today about my background and a couple of the things I learned while starting a small business. So I guess I'll start by sharing a little bit about myself. I'm Zainab or Z. I'm a campus outreach program manager at Google, and I'm a former sourcing recruiter at Google and at Uber. Uber was actually where I started my career. When I joined Uber, I was a brand ambassador. And then from there, I moved on to being an event operations coordinator, then a solutions analyst, then a sourcing recruiter before moving to Google about a year and a half ago. I'm also a small business owner. I own a card game that I created called A Game for Couples. It's a game for couples who are ready to take the next step in their relationship, but are a little bit nervous about asking the really intimate but important questions that we all should be asking before taking that next step. I'm also a wife. I got married last March 11th, to my amazing husband, Rowan. But we're doing our Nigerian traditional wedding this December in Nigeria. I'm a sister to two amazing sisters. My little sister, who lives with me and my husband, Amanda, she's 9, and Sauda, my other little sister, who I absolutely adore, who lives across the country. And I'm the owner of a beautiful, energetic border collie named Domino, and he's here on the screen. So that's a little bit more about myself. All right. So I guess the first thing I'll jump into is about time management and being consistent. So I started my business a couple of years ago. And when I started, thank goodness I had a background in corporate. So I'm naturally very disorganized, but having worked for Uber and Google, I know that it's very important that you're organized and you keep track of things and you manage your time very well, because I was working full time, 8 9 hours, and I had to make time for planning and developing and basically rolling out my business. Time is precious, a very precious resource when you're working full time and running a side business. And to be successful, you'll need to manage your time very effectively. So, what I did is I created a schedule that outlined my work hours and my business hours and my personal time. And I did my very best to stick to it. I was also very realistic about how much time I could commit to my business. It took me several months to launch because I'm the type of person, if I do something, whether it's work or a business, I want to do it very well. And I knew that my job was my first priority. It was what paid the bills, it was what paid my rent. So I couldn't let that kind of fall to the wayside. So I was very strategic about really planning my time and making sure every minute counted. And then I also prioritized my tasks and focused on the most important things first, being my work. As soon as my workday was done, everything I needed to do was complete. I then jumped into my business and a couple of tools that I use that were lifesavers. So Trello and Asana, they're both like kind of like time management, project management tools. More for project management, I made sure I mapped out everything to a T. So I basically took several days in the beginning to plan out, okay, what am I going to need for my business? I'm going to need a photographer. I'm going to need a manufacturer. I'm going to need a social media expert. I'm going to need a website. I'm going to need to register my business. Okay, so what are the best tools to use? So I started mapping things out very strategically, step by step. So as far as like keeping track of my time, I used Google Calendar. I use Google Calendar at Google, and when I was at Uber, we used it very heavily to like block off time and manage what we did throughout the day. For starting like registering my business, I use Zen Business to look for like different people to work with. I use multiple different like tools, and we can talk about that later on. But that's basically what I did to really, really manage my time and prioritize tasks. So, as far as being consistent, this is really important. If you're working 8, 9, 10 hours a day, you're going to come home and you're going to be exhausted. And I was often very exhausted, but I knew I had a goal. I knew I wanted to launch. I knew I didn't want this to just be another project that I start and that I kind of let fall to the side because um, I'm too tired, whatever. So consistency is key when building a successful side business, making a commitment to yourself to work on your business, even if it's a little bit every day. Let's say that's 30 minutes or an hour when you're initially planning out, or a couple of hours each week, setting small goals for what you want to accomplish each week and making a plan to achieve those goals. Over time, your consistent efforts will add up and you'll start to see real progress. I think other small business owners I've spoken to that have ultimately like given up, a lot of the time it's because they didn't plan ahead. They didn't think through, okay, this is how much time it's going to take. These are the things that I'm going to do each day. These are the action items I'm going to take each month. They're kind of winging it. And when you wing it, things fall through the cracks. You get tired, you get frustrated, and it's very, very hard to be consistent. So that's, I guess, a piece of advice that I would give. So yeah. So, reputation is extremely important. So, first, I'll talk about personal branding and then I'll talk about your business. So, as far as personal branding, working for a major tech company, I have to be very cognizant of what I put out there, how I behave, how I represent myself, and the company I work for. So, thinking about that, I made sure that the business I started wouldn't have like any negative like consequences when it came to my primary source of income, which was my job, a job I absolutely love. And now, when we're looking at kind of like vetting and managing your reputation when it comes to your business, it's very important to thoroughly vet the contractors you're hiring to make sure they provide quality work. I say this over and over again, but you only have one chance to make a good first impression. Take your time, be intentional about spending your money on contractors, and put your best foot forward. And that might mean taking several weeks, if not months, to find the person that's right for you. You only have one shot. For instance, it took me months to find a photographer, and I did a lot of research. I was on Facebook looking for photographers. I browsed through Instagram, and I was very intentional for looking to look for really like small business kind of um, contractors that not many people know about, but people who have extremely high quality work. And I finally found someone in Australia. She is a woman of color. If I'm not mistaken, I think she's Chinese Australian. I was super excited to work with her. But the work spoke for itself. My photography came out so well and it was within budget. When I was looking for a graphic designer, a tool I used to find my designer was Behance.net. I spent hours and several weeks browsing through Behance, looking through different designers, looking through different like packaging designers until I found someone who was fantastic. She's from Malaysia. She just graduated and she was studying design and she was absolutely incredible. And there was just great synergy when I was working with her and I was asking her questions. I also came prepared to our first like intake meeting with several questions to ask her. So questions about budget, questions about timeline, questions about what type of things she needs from me to get started to really capture my vision for my card game. And we worked very well. We kept to a very tight timeline and deadline. We would meet up once a week just to get a pulse on progress. And I'm very lucky I found her. I will say I messed up initially when I was looking for a designer. I found another designer first, and I was just so excited to work with them. I didn't ask enough questions. Thank goodness we only worked together for, I think, a week before I realized, this isn't the best match. So we had to kind of end that relationship. And then I was more strategic the next time when finding the designer I ultimately ended up working with. Same thing when I was looking for my website designer. I used several tools, several resources. I used Instagram, and then I also used Facebook. So I'm in several marketing related groups on Facebook, and I just posted like, hey, I have a limited budget. I'm a first time business owner. I'm looking for someone within budget. And she reached out to me, and she's someone who occasionally works with women of color who have limited budgets to help them build their websites. And she was just getting started. So I got an incredible deal on my website. She now charges like 3, 4 times what she charged me, but being very honest and vulnerable on Facebook within my groups really helped me find a great web designer. And I, again, intentionally went for someone who was kind of more niche and kind of smaller, as opposed to going for like a corporation that I know designs websites, because I wanted everything to be very intimate. I wanted to be able to have more of a say with direction of my website. And she did such an incredible job. As far as thinking through like my manufacturer, I also wanted to make sure that the person or the company had a great reputation. So I reached out to dozens of manufacturers, and I looked up reviews, I looked up referrals, until I found one that was perfect for me. They were based in India. Their price was great. The quality of their work, they sent me samples, was absolutely fantastic. And they were very responsive. So I knew that they were going to be a good fit for me. And they were able to send me my product on time, which was important. Now, thinking through my copywriter. So although I came up with a lot of the questions in my game, I'm not a writer. I'm not a professional writer, and I knew I needed help. So a tool I used Fiverr initially to find a writer, but the work I got wasn't really the best. And Fiverr is great, but there's so many different creators on there. It just takes time to find someone that clicks with you. Ultimately, I ended up finding an incredible writer on Upwork, and we were able to go back and forth. He's actually, I think, the director or the head of English for a private school. So I knew he was good at writing. And I told him what I wanted. It was very work together. He sent me content, I reviewed it, and he was able to give me work that I was proud to put my name behind. And once I had all of my elements ready, my photography, my website, my design, my manufacturer, my business licensing ready to go, I then had to incorporate like Shopify, which is what I use to manage the back end. It helps me look at like analytics. It helps me just keep track of my business as a whole. And then finally, I use a company that warehouses my product. So I don't ship out. And that was something I was very strategic about. I thought to myself, do I have the time working 8, 9 hours a day to go to the post office and ship out? No, it's going to be, I'm going to get frustrated ultimately. So I ended up going with a third-party logistics company. I sent them all of my product. I was able to connect the backend with their backend with my Shopify. So as soon as someone places an order on Shopify, it automatically goes to them. I don't have to do anything. And they ship it, and the shipping is automatically calculated. So that's another thing about like automating things to keep your reputation up there, because the last thing I'd want is to be working or traveling for work. I get an order and I can't respond quickly enough or send out the product, and then it looks bad on my business. So I had to think through ways to not only automate workflow so it was efficient and I could be kind of hands off, but making sure I always put my best foot forward in like any tool I use to represent my company well. So yeah, that's that. So budgeting. Whew, this one. Budgeting and grants. So I'm gonna first start with uh, budgeting, and then I'll move on to grants. So, as far as budgeting, one of the biggest challenges for me starting a side business while working full time was managing my finances. I didn't get any money from anyone initially, it was all on me. I was working full time. I had a pretty decent salary, but I was paying rent, and I live in a very expensive town. I live close to Seattle. You know, Seattle's expensive. Tacoma, where I live, is also relatively expensive. So I really had to be very tight on my budget. How much do I need for my personal? How much do I need to save? How much do I need for food? And how much do I want to allocate for my business? And I really had to stick to it. And this is why it took me much longer to launch than someone who like has funds. It's not impossible. But if you're going to use your own money, you have to be very strategic with how much you're spending. And also, that might mean taking longer. It might mean doing more research to find someone who's not only high quality, but within budget, which is what I did with all of my contractors and my designers I've worked with. You should set clear financial goals for your business, create a budget that aligns with those goals. Be sure to keep a close eye on your spending. I messed up initially in the beginning. I was spending so much. I wasn't really like keeping track of my spending. So I ended up spending way over what I needed to be spending on my business. And I felt like, oh my gosh, at the end of each month, I have a great salary, but all of my money is going towards my business. And then I really had to sit with myself and realize, like, I'm not going to get a better product by spending all of this money. I have to be very strategic. As a new business owner, money is a precious resource. It's important to be wise with that. Consider any expenses. Ask yourself if it'll truly benefit your business to spend the money you're about to spend to help you achieve your goal. And before hiring a contractor or vendor, make sure you thoroughly vet their work and reputation before paying, because something might seem affordable, but if you're getting poor quality work, you're going to end up having to spend more money in the long run to fix the issue. Don't be afraid to negotiate with contractors and fees to ensure you're getting the best value for your money. And remember, every dollar you spend is an investment in your business's success. So be intentional about where and how you're spending your money. Also, I will add, this is a little bit off topic for budgeting, but be very respectful to the people you're reaching out to, even if they're what they're offering, that their price is out of budget for you. Don't be disrespectful. Don't be rude. Be respectful. Put your best foot forward. Be kind to all of the contractors you're working with, because if you're respectful and if you represent your business well, they're more likely to maybe give you a discount and be very responsive with you and work well with you. So moving on to grants. So although I didn't personally get any grants, I did do a lot of research on grants. So finding grants for your business, I would consider looking for grants for your business. Many organizations and foundations provide grants to support new businesses. You can search for grants that are specific to your industry or location. Make sure to research the eligibility requirements and application process thoroughly, and be prepared to submit a well-written grant proposal. It's important to note that grants can be competitive, so be sure to apply to several different opportunities to increase your chance of receiving funding. Make sure you proofread everything, whether that's getting a professional to help, whether it's getting a friend who's really good at grammar to help, or using tools Some tools I currently use to help me proofread, ChatGPT. I have the pro version. I use it every single day. I also use Grammarly. I never send out an email or a proposal or anything without thoroughly proofreading it. So,
Thank you so much, Z, for all the amazing tips and all the resources you've shared with us.
of course.
To kind of piggyback a little bit about, Z's experience with the grant process and all of that. So once again, this webinar was hosted through the CMPP program, the Community Navigator Pilot Program. And this is a collaboration. US PAC is working with the SBA. They received a grant to help connect small businesses to resources and assistance. So all the counseling for small business owners are free. And our goal is to help, business owners learn about the SBA, the services they're providing, the local grants and loans that your business could be eligible for. So Z had done a lot of research on her own, and that's a really amazing step. But for those who need a little bit more support and help, that is what this program is here for, and that is what I am here for, representing the Midwest chapter for US PAC to do so. So you can get connected to other resources and assistance as well. We have financial planning and accounting references and referrals that we can make, business financing, which is something that, Z had talked about, budgeting. She actually had to kind of spearhead her own business with a lot of her own personal financing and, her own budgeting. But definitely there is the support out there. You can get support through us for business operations. We can help you organize a little bit of that startup process. Marketing, legal assistance, and technical assistance is all free. All of this counseling is for free through the CMPP. And this is powered by the SBA. I will go over some of the SBA grants that, right now that they do have. There are still COVID-19 relief programs. There are also small business grant programs for research and development. You'll see the two listed here. There's innovation research and also technology transfer. There's management and technical assistance as well. There's also state trade and expansion, and this was something interesting. This helps you connect your business and your products to the international market. And they've been doing that since 2011. So here are some of the SBA grants. Here's also some of the loans that could help out potentially, a small business owner who's just trying to get, maybe finding a contractor or getting their product to be automated like Z had done. So there's a 7A loan. This one, the specific, like sharing just the small detail, it's suitable for those who can't obtain credit elsewhere. So if you were having a hard time getting started, this is one that you could look into. The 504 loans, the project being financed has to be used for acquisition of land, buildings, or equipment with a useful lifespan of at least 10 years. But that's definitely to consider if you're looking for maybe a place to start. There's also microloans. These are going to be provided through intermediaries, like maybe nonprofit community-based organizations and other for-profit organizations. But for more details, definitely use me as a resource and get connected and reach out to me and get connected. But here is going to be my contact information, Z's contact information, if you were interested in just talking with her more, learning about her experience. She added her LinkedIn. You can check out her business Instagram as well. But thank you so much for joining us. My email is attached here. If you would like to learn more about the services that are provided through the Community Navigator Pilot Program, please feel free to reach out to me via that email listed in this last slide. I am so thankful that Z joined us today. This was an ask on my part to have her here, but I completely and utterly have the utmost respect and regard for her, this woman who had, gone through this whole process just to, see through her vision. She had an idea for, this game, and I think it was inspired by her own, navigation through her relationship. And it was just amazing to see how that inspired her to want to create a product that could help others do the same. And, that's what this program is here to do, to help small business owners actualize their dreams, to help them find the right resources to get them started. Z is a self-starter for sure. And I hope that, the experience that she had to share with you, the resources that she shared with you help you. But for anyone who needs that little bit extra help and who would like to hear, a little bit more details about the things I listed today, she and I are both available for contact. Thank you so much again for joining us today. Thank you, Z.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
I
you so
think
much.
your organization is doing such incredible work, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody. I hope to hear from some of you guys soon, and hopefully we all get inspired by, Z's story. Thank you so much. Bye for
Thank
now, everyone. Bye.